Since I made my Siege Apeface review, I've been doing my damnedest to make an opening monologue about how each and every figure I've reviewed since then has been an example of some nostalgic zeitgeist in Transformers history, or how it showcases some strange phenomenon, or some other asinine forced thesis. Today's review is somewhat different, as I just feel like talking about the damn thing with no frills or pretense or anything. Today's episode is just a really cool figure I got for $40 sealed at a secondhand store. Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at Transformers Generation 1 Autobot car, Inferno. This figure was originally released in 1985 as part of the Autobot car assortment, though this specific figure was released in 2003 as part of the Transformers Collection line of reissues. Much like the name suggests, Inferno transforms into a bright candy red fire truck of the Mitsubishi Fuso variety. Not a very good one, mind you, but a fire truck nonetheless. Of course, it's nice and boxy, and still looks like a fire truck from a distance. On the flanks, plainly visible, are the robot mode arms, doing the absolute bare minimum amount of effort to hide. These are by far the most egregious form of kibble on this entire thing, so I guess it's all uphill from here. The face of the cab is emblazoned with a shimmering chrome grille and an Autobot symbol. There's more chrome along those unhidden arms, as well as some on the rear subladder and the back diamond plating. In a nice bit of asymmetrical detailing, there's a hose on the left-hand side cast in white plastic. Inferno rolls on 6 rubber tires, though when you try to roll him, much like America's youth, unfortunately, he won't stop going towards the left. The ladder up top is cast in the same white as the hose, and is able to lift upwards and extend to 3 times its original length. Also, in an aborted gimmick from this mold's Diaclone days, the cab can open up to reveal a seat in which a Diaclone minifigure could presumably sit. Also revealed upon opening the cab is a rub sign. It's been a while since I've seen one of those. Generation 1 Inferno's transformation is typical of that of a late 70s, early 80s robot transformation, though I don't mean that in a good way. As you could plainly see, all of Inferno's robot bits were already visible in vehicle mode, so getting them where they need to go isn't much of a challenge at all. Of course, the transforming robot craze was in its infancy at the time, but that doesn't change how poorly it's aged in those 3 decades since the mold's debut. What makes it even worse is that Inferno's iconic wings and his fists parts form, meaning there's nowhere for everything to go in vehicle mode. I'm not going to pretend like toy designers back in the day knew better or anything, but let's just take a moment to appreciate how shit like this got left in the past, more or less. While the vehicle mode was lackluster and the transformation a testament to all the things you shouldn't do on a transforming figure, Inferno's robot mode is pretty charming. It's not so much boxy like you'd imagine a fire truck robot to be, since Inferno's whole design ethic seems to take inspiration from his ladder, as nearly every piece of sculpted detail on his person is just made of ridges. Sure, the chest is still the boxy fire truck cab, and that was pretty much unavoidable, and serves more as a nucleus for all the ladderific insanity which orbits around it. The arms are especially ridged, making it more pleasurable when he fits. I like the chrome spikes coming out of the shoulders, as they, along with the similarly chromed cuffs, bookend those arms really nicely, I'd say. The legs are little more than just the underside of the fire truck, but the sticker detailing allows them to explode with color. The feet are also made of die-cast metal, meaning Inferno isn't going to topple over anytime soon. The head sculpt is extremely nice and very well painted, with clean silver and yellow accents, and bright blue eyes. On the original Generation 1 figure, Inferno sported yellow eyes, but they were changed to blue for subsequent reissues. I prefer the blue. It's just a shame that the platform on which the head stands doesn't hug onto the cab any tighter. As it is, it creates an unsightly gap, which looks as if the head doesn't lock in place. Before we talk about the other accessories Inferno comes with, I'd like to mention that his fists are spring-loaded, and thus count as missiles. Launching one of them means there is space to insert a chrome missile. Inferno comes with 3 total, but that's more insurance for when you inevitably lose one. He also comes with a black pistol to be wielded in his remaining hand. As for the hand, which was launched not too long ago, there is space in the cab for storage thanks to the indent made for the Diaclone minifigure. Basically, it's the same as storing Optimus Prime's hands away, except Inferno can only fit one of them at a time, unless you get creative. When I talk about Unicron Trilogy figures, I always bring up that they have usually limited articulation. This is doubly true for Generation 1 figures. This is the toy line that coined the term brick, because that's what most of these figures are, and Inferno is no exception. There's nothing at the head except for this transformation joint that allows him to look down a bit, I guess. This crane thing can wobble around. He can actually deploy the ladder in this mode, so if you count this as articulation, then I guess that should satisfy you. Otherwise, there's nothing here. The arms are really where the bulk of everything is. They have a swivel that goes all the way around 360 degrees until they bang into these wings, though the wings can pivot out the way, or you can take them off to allow for even greater amounts of range. The chrome bits can move on a joint there, and the elbows bend 90 degrees, and if you really want to count it, the wrists technically swivel, because the launching mechanism is circular, so they do count as a swivel, so you can get some nice shaking fist into the sky poses since he lost his little wing. At the body, there's nothing except this arcing back joint, which is more for transformation, and I don't really count it as articulation, but some might find it useful. Otherwise, the only joint left is the feet, where they point downwards for transformation, and it's on a weird little axis here, so it doesn't look quite natural when you do it. I guess he can lean backwards, but at some point he's just gonna fall over, though I guess you can use the ladder as a sort of tripod. But at the end of the day, Inferno is just not posable, because he is a Generation 1 figure. This figure was designed in the early 80s, so what you see is what you get. Generation 1 Inferno, much like many of his brethren from the era, has not aged well at all. This figure is a mess in both modes, whose transformation is cheaty and not fun. The play opened up by his accessories is kind of fun, and that ladder of his is definitely fun to mess around with, but other than that, there's not much going for this figure. I guess there's an argument to be had as to how G1 figures have a spot in one's collection just for the history and old school design, but I'm going to judge this figure by how good it is to play with. It is only a toy after all. At the end of the day, Generation 1 Inferno is a figure you should ignore, unless you're one of those die-hard fans who, for some inexplicable reason, don't already have an Inferno. If you liked this video or otherwise found it helpful or informative, then please subscribe for more reviews like this in the future, and feel free to suggest topics for future reviews in the comments. When we return, we'll be taking a look at the hot new attempt at this design. Will it fix all the issues I had with Inferno? Stay tuned. This has been Kick Katastrophe. Transform and roll out.